Honorable members, good afternoon. You're all welcome. We have tried to make the house more comfortable because we heard that it was a bit freezing. Given that it's winter, it's trying to keep you awake a bit. And I do realize that this budget will start on a very good note. I saw a photo opportunity between the minister and the members of the opposition. Wow, that's great. I'd like to welcome the Minister, Deputy Minister, as well as the DG and senior officials of the department and public entities and board members of the public entities that report to transport who are here. You are all welcome. The guests of the Minister in the gallery, you are now the guests of Parliament. We welcome you. But I need to give you a bit of some housekeeping rules. When you hear some very exciting statements, either by the Minister, Deputy Minister, or even members of Parliament, you must just smile, no clapping of hands. Even when we introduce some of you who, for one reason or the other, you may be recognized, you can just nod, standing without clapping any hands. If there's anything that's irritating you very much from whatever quarter that is being said in this house, you can just make some funny faces, but no gestures with your hands. That's just the nice housekeeping for me to you. But otherwise, you are welcome. Clapping for nobody, even for the party you love most. So, I'll now ask the Secretary to read the first order.
Debate on vote number 35, Transport Appropriation Bill.
Honorable Minister of Transport, Honorable Maswanganyi, you are welcome. This being your maiden speech as a minister, you are most welcome.
Yeah, who come together from Limpopo. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members of Parliament, Cabinet colleagues, Deputy Minister Chikunga, Chairperson, Portfolio Committee, Transport members and members, Acting DG, Mr. Mkonyama, officials of the Department of Transport, chairpersons and CEOs of our entities, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chairperson, let me first pay tribute to my predecessor, Minister Dipo Peters, who laid a solid foundation by leading the Department of Transport diligently. This gratitude also goes to all the ANC ministers who led the department since 1994. I'm honored to present the Department of Transport budget for 2017 in May, a month where South Africa marks the Africa Month under the theme, the year of our Tambo, building a better Africa and a better world. This year's Africa Month celebration coincides with the centenary of our struggle stalwart, the ANC President, Oliver Reginald Tambo, who epitomized the struggle for liberation and was instrumental in rallying support, assistance, and solidarity for the African National Congress. President Tambo emphasized that political freedom is intertwined with economic emancipation. Honorable Chairperson, today we're tabling a budget which will go a long way in realizing the vision of OR Tambo in transforming the lives of South Africans, in particular the previously disadvantaged. Building from the State of the Nation address by President Zuma, transport will play an important role in leading radical socio-economic transformation program. The ANC government is indeed serious about economic deracialization in pursuance of an inclusive economy. The South African economy is characterized by vast racial and gender inequalities in the distribution of and access to productive assets, wealth, income, skills, and employment. Little progress has been made in achieving greater operational participation and control in the economy by Africans. This has limited the ability to expand the productive base, sustain economic development, eradicate poverty, and contribute to a better life for all. Effectively, the black majority had been excluded from economic ownership and control, fundamentally undermining their ability to accumulate capital. Honorable Chairperson, to allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact is to feed the roots of racial supremacy and exploitation, and does not represent even the shadow of liberation. Government, therefore, must ensure efficient and affordable transport to serve production and communities in the interior of the country and to support regional integration. As the transport sector, we pledge our commitment to transform our procurement environment to ensure broad-based black economic empowerment, promotion of local companies, SMEs, suppliers, and communities. Our people cannot only be subjected to taxes as a business venture. We will broaden their economic emancipation in the construction industry, in the bus industry, in the rail sector, in the aviation, as well as in the oceans economy. This requires us to ensure bold forms of state intervention, including progressive and redistributive procurement, progressive competition policies that promote growth and employment and address poverty and inequality. Radical socio-economic transformation, Chairperson, is important because its intention is to transform the structure of the economy through industrialization, broad-based black economic empowerment, addressing the basic needs of our people, including women and youth, strengthening and expanding the role of the state and the role of the state-owned enterprises. We are finalizing the much-awaited public transport subsidy policy. The policy will focus more on subsidizing the user than the operators, irrespective of the mode used. It is totally unacceptable that the other modes, notably the taxis, are not included in the subsidy regime. This is the result of the 2013 National Household Travel Survey that indicates that the taxi mode is the most preferred by the majority of transport users, accounting for over 68% of the daily commuting public. To this extent, we will be meeting the taxi industry, the rail sector, and bus operators to discuss the transport subsidy policy. We will also be convening the transformation summits in various sectors of transport to explore further opportunities that will benefit the previously disadvantaged, particularly women, youth, and people living with disabilities. Honorable Chairperson, we continue to evaluate and monitor the mandates of state-owned assets and enterprises to ensure that their social and economic mandates, including issues such as procurement, equity, and transformation, remain aligned to our economic transformation program. In this current financial year, we will fill the vacancies of the boards of directors and executive position of all entities under the department. We will marshal our SOEs to take account of the recommendations of the Presidential Review Commission with a view of transforming them to be the key instruments for the developmental state. We want to indicate, Honorable Chairperson, that SOEs should not be always in the media for wrong reasons. We have launched an ambitious infrastructure program which is gathering momentum every day. Our large public investment in ports, railways, and roads will help alleviate supply bottlenecks in the economy, while social infrastructure will improve the living conditions of our people. Sanral is in the process of developing a long-term strategy aligned with the NDP. The strategy will enable the development of 2030 roads plan and will review SANRAL's operating model, which includes the new toll roads policy. Also included in the strategy is the transformation policy, which seeks to radically transform SANRAL's procurement system. SANRAL is also revisiting its contract model to comply with the 30% requirements of the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act regulations for subcontracting, which will continue to prioritize Black youth, women, people with disabilities, and people living in rural or underdeveloped areas or townships. In 2016, SANRAL continued to conduct training for contractors in both construction and maintenance projects. We trained 4,120 people in road building and other skills. We created 15,721 jobs through the fulfillment of contracts. Our contract participation goals saw the development of 1,004 Black-owned companies individually contracted to perform work to the value of approximately 1.9 billion rand. Working together with the Competition Commission and other law enforcement agencies, we will uproot the practice of widespread collusion in the construction industry. We welcome the Constitutional Court's decision to dismiss with costs the application for leave to appeal by 2 members of the bicycle cartel who were found guilty of price fixing. We also welcome the wide-ranging probe by the Commission into possible anti-competitive behavior in the public transport sector. The move will widen entry into the public transport sector by the previously excluded groups. Chairperson, President Zuma said during the State of the Nation address that we have started upgrading the current Moloto corridor. We are today reporting that we have appointed contractors to commence with the construction of the Moloto corridor, and at the end of the project, we are going to create 12,500 jobs. We are also going to unbundle the bus contract in this corridor to widen participation by small, localized, and designated groups. In 2016, South Africa signed a cooperation agreement with the People's Republic of China to build the Moloto Rail Development Corridor, and the development is included in a list of projects submitted to Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, commonly known as FOCAC. The Moloto Rail Development will provide a public transport system that is user-friendly, less environmentally damaging, cheaper, and seamless. The project covers a railway line with 14 new stations and 8 upgraded stations, as well as depots and staging yards, which will shape the economic landscape and spatial development of the Moloto corridor. Honorable Speaker, rail transportation play a critical role in economic growth and development. Our rolling stock fleet renewal program is underway with significant progress already made. This is the beginning of the revival of passenger rail after 40 years of underinvestment, which has resulted in old and unreliable trains and rail infrastructure. On the 9th of May 2017, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma successfully handed over the new PRASA trains to the general public for operation by Metro Rail between Pinasport Station and Pretoria Station as the first deployment corridor. To date, 18 new trains, affectionately known as the People's Trains, have already been delivered. The new trains are part of the first rollout, which will be implemented over the next 20 years. The remaining 580 trains will be built in South Africa by Gibela at the local factory located in the Dinota Park, Ekurhuleni. Furthermore, we are facilitating the development of a supplier park that will support the manufacturing at the factory with local components and will help achieve localization and transformation goals, including participation of Black industrialists, SMEs, women, and the youth. The rollout of the new trains will now shift towards other corridors in Gauteng, Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Eastern Cape to improve the Metro Rail service. The next deployment of the new trains is expected from 2018-2019 financial year with the following corridors targeted: Pretoria, Sourceville in Gauteng, Mabopane and Pretoria, Johannesburg, Naledi in Gauteng, Khayelitsha, Captain's Club, Cape Town, Western Cape, Umlazi, Durban, KwaMashu, Ispingo, KwaZulu-Natal. Honorable Chairperson, our public transport network system continue to mature, carrying a combined 125,000 passenger trips on an average weekday across Rea Vaya, Arieng, My City, and Go George. In addition, 6 new cities are expected to run operations in the 2017-2018, including Ekurhuleni, eThekwini, Rustenburg, Polokwane, Mbombela, and Nelson Mandela Bay. By 2019-2020, the 10 operating cities are expected to carry a combined total of 400,000 weekday passenger trips. Through the Shovakalula bicycle project, we continue to maximize the use of non-motorized transport to enable learners to access centers of learning. The department has procured 6,000 bicycles that will be distributed to needy learners, particularly in earmarked rural district municipalities and schools. In this current financial year, we hereby say that Cabinet has approved the Road Accident Benefit Scheme, commonly known as the RABS Bill, and is ready to be introduced to Parliament. Honorable Chairperson, I'm pleased to announce that government is now in control of the INATIS system. The Constitutional Court has ruled in favor of the Department for the INATIS to be permanently transferred to RMTC for management and cooperation. Also, Cabinet has approved the National Road Safety Strategy 2016-2030 to address the challenges and gaps identified on the implementation of previous strategies. Honorable Speaker, I congratulate the Civil Aviation Authority as well as the auditors team for ensuring that South Africa passes the recent audit that was conducted on South Africa by ICAO. ICAO placed South Africa at position 1 in Africa and 33 global. Our audit report results have risen from 83.83% to 86.71%. This means that the South African civil aviation sector is efficient, secure, economically sustainable, and environmentally responsible. Honorable Chairperson, we also celebrate the country's first 3 Black women. Can I request them to stand up? That is Captain Tembela Tabashe, Captain Tsepo Mutlowutsi. There they are. Thanks very much. Captain Tembela Tobasha, Captain Tsepo Mtlousi, and Captain Priti Mulife, all qualified as master mariners or ship captains. This is the highest professional qualification for seafarers, enabling the holder to be in command of a vessel of more than 3,000 gross tonnage. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to table the 2017-2018 budget, which stands at 59 billion rand. The breakdown is as follows. Road function, 27 billion rand. Rail transport, 19 billion rand. Public transport, 12.5 billion rand. Civil aviation, 169 million rand. Maritime, 119 million rand. Integrated transport planning, 81 million rand. Administration, 406 million. We will, through this budget, Honorable Chairperson, capacitate the department by filling key vacant positions to ensure that we deliver on all of the above commitments, taking into cognizance of the danger disparities at the executive management level. With this budget, we will continue to transform the lives of our people, develop and implement interventions aimed at improving transport systems and operations by finalizing the outstanding policies, strategies and legislations in road, rail, aviation, and maritime subsectors. We will also continue to develop and implement policies and strategies geared at improving provision of quality public transport infrastructure and services, including the learner and non-motorized transport. We will also implement and monitor implementation of policies aimed at ensuring construction and maintenance of transport infrastructure through programs like Sihamba Sonke that has proven to be the main creator of jobs and opportunities. Through this program, Chairperson, we will make sure that we don't compromise on implementing our program on radical socio-economic transformation to bring the previously disadvantaged, generally blacks, and in particular, Africans. In conclusion, I thank the Honorable President, the Deputy President, Cabinet colleagues, Deputy Minister Chikunga, MECs of Transport, Chairperson and of Portfolio Committee and members for their support and guidance. I also like to thank the Acting Director General, the entire executive management of the department, the boards and executives of our entities, as well as staff members across the three spheres of government. Also to my family, which continue to be the pillar of my strength, and thank you very much for continuing to allow me to serve our people. I komaneni imavoko, aka no hluvukisa tiko ra hina ra Afrika Dzonga, siyachuba na khensa.
Na cancer, Minister. I can see, Minister, the department has really given you a soft landing. Honorable Magazi.
Thank you very much, Viva Wena.
This is not Limpopo, it's a national budget of transport.
Modula stulo wa gompieno me Didiza, le tona la tsa dipalangwa mo Afrika Borwa re Maswanganyi, motlatsa le tona wa tsa dipalangwa me Shikunga, Director General le maloko a Department ya tsa dipalangwa mo Afrika Borwa, maloko a ntlo a tlotlegang, baeng ba go tswa mafapheng a farologaneng ke a le dumedisa. As we celebrate the 100 years of the lives and times of our African giant, let us remind ourselves that this giant travels the world to popularize the plight of the South Africans under the apartheid regime. The giant who spoke in the United Nations, the giant who came to Organization of African Unity to come and speak on the humaneness of colonialist apartheid system. We are remembering this giant today here on this podium as we celebrate Africa Month. This giant carried the African National Congress for many years, the longest serving president of the African National Congress, who worked tirelessly throughout to make sure that the ANC lives and the ANC leads. This is the giant that take the African National Congress through Morogoro Consultative Conference and the Harare Declaration. We are here talking about Oliver Reginald Tambo. The Portfolio Committee engaged and discussed with the Department of Transport after having consulted with the Auditor General of South Africa. The Portfolio Committee also engaged 10 of the 12 entities of the Department of Transport, raised issues that the Auditor General saw befitting for correction. The annual strategic plans, the strategic plans of the different entities and the department were looked into, hence the African National Congress support this budget vote 35. The National Development Plan, Vision 2030, focuses on several key principles with regard to infrastructure. Amongst others, it talks to improving the socio-economic opportunities for Africa, advancing development in Africa, improving movement of goods and people, and also promoting regional integration. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, and honorable members, let me indicate that the Portfolio Committee on Transport, together with the Auditor General of South Africa, made several observations that needs to be taken into consideration by the Department of Transport. Modula Stulo, ke batla gore, ke supetse gore Auditor General le Portfolio Committee, re lemogile gore go na le dingwe tsa ditheokgwebo tsa puso tse di boetseng morago mo tirong ya tsone ya letsatsi ka letsatsi. Ke bua ka ditheokgwebo tse tshwanang le PRASA, RSR, SANRAL, SAMSA, gore di boetse morago. Auditor General wa Afrika Borwa o supetsa gore ditheokgwebo tse, di-APP tsa tsone ga di a tsepama sentle, ga di na le nako e maleba, ebile ga di kgone go batlisisega. Dipoelo tsa ditheokgwebo tse ga di na bonnete jo bo tsepameng gore go tlile go diragala eng. Se ke setshwantsho se e leng gore letona la dipalangwa mo Afrika Borwa o tshwanetse gore a se siamise ka bonako. We take pride as the African National Congress that there are several policies and several bills that are eventually progressing speedily towards implementation and that are progressing speedily towards Parliament. Here I am talking that there is a 10 pilots project of NEPMEP which are going to be implemented in this financial year. There are several bills such as ARTO, RAF, RAPS, as the minister has spoken to, and NLT, which are already here in Parliament. And the other bills which we believe will be coming very soon, that's Rail Safety Regulator Bill, SACA, ATNS amendments. These are the amendment bills, the National Rail Bill, and STAIR, to name but a few bills that we believe we shall be grappling with and hoping that before the end of the 5th Parliament, we would have finished these bills. We take pride in the work that has been done by the department. Committee ya tabutleketi la Parliament ya Afrika Dzonga yinchuchekile hikuva ndhawu leyi endlile policy ya mapato lamo nghena eka matiko xikaya. Hi ni ku tshemba leswaku ku ta va ni ntirhisano exikarhi ka tindhawulo exikarhi ka ndhawulo ya vutleketi ni mimfumo ya xikaya ni mimfumo ya ti-province eku tirheni aka mapato lamawani hi ku ri lexi hi xona lexi xi nga na nkoka ku ri vanhu va ka hina va kota ku ya lomu va yaku kona va ya swibedhlele va ya swikolweni ku nga ri na maqhalaqhala la ya va sivelelaku hi langutela ku vona ku ri na vukamberi bya le henhla bya ntirho lowu nga ta va wu karhi wu endliwa hi department, ntirho lowu nga ta va wu karhi wu endliwa hi vamasipala na ntirho lowu nga ta va wu karhi wu endliwa hi ti-province aku akeni ka mapato. Hi na ku tshemba leswaku a swi nga endli ku ri timali ti ya lomu ya swi nga faneliki ku ri ti ya kona mara ti ta tirha ntirho wa ku aka mapato. Indeed, Gauteng, Free State and Durban corridor transport logistics, the construction of N2 Wild Coast Highway are some of the projects that as the portfolio committee, we give thumbs up to the department. In advancing regional modern infrastructure network and access to public infrastructure and public transport and integrated planning by all the departments on basic amenities and spatial planning is a very crucial one. Here we're talking about the fact that it is possible that you can be able to build schools, build clinics, build every amenity, having engaged all the departments, so that as you engage the Department of Roads and Transport, you will be making sure that the roads goes to where they are needed the most. We applaud entities such as ATNS, SACA, AXA, that have got their footprints in the African diaspora and the world as a whole. They are raising the South African flag high, and we believe that others will be able to follow. This is in advancing the regional modern infrastructure network in Africa. The department needs to strengthen its research and development program so as to enhance modernization and the implementation thereof. This will be able to assist in growing the economy. We commend the department on the revitalization and bringing back Moloto Corridor Road, which is eventually under construction, and we believe that the rail will soon follow. We are concerned that as we are talking to this, PRASA for the past 3 years has engaged in retrogressive programs while giving little attention to service delivery matters. Here we are talking about service delivery contracts that have been cancelled, unauthorized expenditure on legal issues that have been at the center stage of PRASA activities, which led to under expenditure with respect to capital project. It is very embarrassing, it is really very embarrassing that in 2 years, you will have 4 group CEOs. Who is wrong here? Is it the CEOs or is it the board? These are the questions that needs to be answered. An embarrassing situation, Minister, that needs you to look into. And therefore, we implore you to monitor and make sure that PRASA is able to implement the turnaround
Honourable
strategy
member, your time
as
is up.
reported. The ANC supports the budget debate of transport. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable De Freitas.
House Chair, as I said in last year's debate, the Democratic Alliance is and always has been supportive of any initiative that will get South Africa moving, literally and figuratively. Indeed, it's the transport sector that can, in real terms, negate apartheid spatial planning as it can bring people closer to their place of work from where they live. It appears that SANRAL continues to keep its head in the sand. This month, civil society organisation OUTA has instituted a round of legal challenges against SANRAL. OUTA believes that the Gauteng e-toll scheme was introduced unlawfully and they don't comply with public information consultation requirements as in the SANRAL Act and the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act. The e-tolls issue alone has turned an otherwise efficient and effective state-owned entity into one that is suffering economically. SANRAL needs to start to face this issue head-on and listen to the people of Gauteng. The entire e-toll scheme needs to either be scrapped or be funded differently so that the financial burden is not left with an already overstretched taxpayer. As I mentioned in last year's debate, there is a bad soap opera in town and it won't go away. In case you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's called PRASA. Just like previous seasons, PRASA continues to deliver corruption, whilst millions of South Africans are left to suffer by using outdated and mal-maintained trains daily. In a cliffhanger episode in 2015, the Public Protector dramatically revealed her, until then much anticipated, report called Derailed. This over 390-page report revealed details of a total failure of delivery and governance. The Auditor General's report also confirmed widespread corruption within PRASA. I pause here to add that the chairman of PRASA at the time of the report was none other than the current Deputy Minister of Finance, Sibusiso Buthelezi. Among the remedial actions prescribed by the Public Protector was that the National Treasury must review all PRASA contracts above 10 million rand for the period under review. The mind boggles thinking about the conflict of interest involved here. The suspect has now become the judge. The soap opera reveals how 370 contracts, all with the value of over 10 million rand, each are being investigated by duly appointed contractors, and 56 suspicious contracts under the value of 10 million are being investigated by National Treasury. Our soapy wheeling and dealing revealed that in the end, PRASA has paid nearly 2.65 billion to date for trains that cannot run on the South African rail network. Claims have been made of substantial payments worth millions made to ANC fundraisers who claim to be friends of the president. Now that makes you think, doesn't it? More crooked deals are revealed in the story. The Siangena signalling tender to the value of 3.1 billion was irregularly awarded. And to add insult to injury, the quality of the work is so poor that these signalling systems present a potential derailment. We also see several questionable relationships that exist between Siangena shareholders and key political figures. In the press, it was reported that Siangena was purportedly paid more than 500 million rand to an obscure company called Hailway Trading. The director of this company is a known associate and benefactor of President Zuma. It makes you think, doesn't it? The soap opera started taking bizarre proportions when the minister seconded to PRASA the CFO in her department, Mr. Collins Letswaya, to act as the group CEO while a permanent replacement is being sought. As soon as he was appointed, Mr. Letswaya awarded himself a 350% salary increase without board approval and instructed officials in the ministry to charge PRASA for it. The delay in the permanent appointment of the CEO and the relevant executives, the lack of progress from law enforcement on the criminal investigations, and prosecutions and indifference from the minister on critical matters have had a deleterious effect on PRASA operations and governance. It became crystal clear to me that there is a cover-up when my colleague and I saw for ourselves it playing out before our very eyes. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the 7th and 8th of March, the PRASA board reported to the Portfolio Committee. At the end of the second day of hearings, the committee unanimously agreed that it undertake an investigation into all that is taking place within PRASA. This was reconfirmed at the same meeting after the minister announced via a cowardly written statement that the board had been fired. In fact, it was the members of the ANC that were the most vocal and ferocious in demanding that we institute an investigation. Well, complete with melodramatic, violin-infested music, imagine my dismay and total shock when only 2 days later, on Friday that week, the 8th of March, when members of the ANC had a complete opposite stance to what they had had only 48 hours earlier. Suddenly, no investigation was necessary. It makes you think, doesn't it? Obviously, they'd been told to toe the line and to assist in a cover-up that involves many people, all the way up to and including number one. Let me repeat what I said at that meeting. I'll continue to dig, probe, and investigate this issue. All that this cover-up has done is to make me more determined than ever before. The board's term of office is scheduled to end on the 31st of July. Just as the minister was appointed because he's willing to do his master's bidding, I predict that a new, more compliant board will be installed that will assist in this cover-up. It will be then that South Africans will be made aware and cognizant that this is the next cliffhanger episode of a cover-up in the soapy. This will make everyone think, won't it? If there is one key performance indicator that demonstrates a transport minister's performance or non-performance, then it's road safety statistics. Thousands continue to die every month, yet the same strategies that do not yield positive results continue to be used year in and year out. A recent report tabled by the RTMC at a portfolio committee meeting confirmed other studies that the majority reasons for road deaths are tire and brake issues. Yet our road safety campaign doesn't speak to these concerns. Instead, the same strategy of checking vehicle and driver licenses continues, yet different results are expected. Crazy. In fact, if one looks at the RTMC's own road safety statistics, one sees that the best road safety, statistically speaking, was 2000, with less than 8,500 fatalities. This is considering that there was less resources and money thrown at the problem at the time. It's also when the focus changed from road safety to revenue generation. The RTMC and the department prefer to focus on making money out of this issue instead of saving lives. In addition, the minister embarrasses himself by making statements such as that we do not require visible traffic policing because we're not a police state, when international practice unambiguously demonstrates that visible traffic policing does reduce road deaths. Minister, we're here to be supportive of you, to fulfill your mandate, and we're here to assist in whatever way possible. However, Minister, unlike your predecessor, you need to do the right thing, and you actually need to be present and demonstrate leadership by addressing the numerous transport issues that we face today, not by covering them up. Thank you.
Honorable Mlawuzi.
Ndiyaliwa mudzulachidulo bo medidiza ndichilumelisa bo minister na mathompi vothe vari pano nduni ndiri nda ndi madekwana rina va lihoro la economic freedom fighters ri kuthudzela kule mugaganyaguma hoyo wa bwendi chairperson, only between 20 to 30% of South African households own a private car, leaving almost 80% of the population depending on public transport to their transportation need. Despite this, the state of public transport in South Africa is in serious reign, and the government has done very little to visionary long-term thinking on resolving the transport crisis in this country. These are some of the problems we as EFF think should be tackled to resolve the problem of transportation in this country. The collapsing service of the metro rail due to the decade of poor maintenance on the rolling stock. The high number of unroadworthy buses, taxis leading to the large number of the recent road crashes, death, and serious injuries. Poor maintenance of the public roads in the country. The government must tackle again the poor planning and the arrogance by the government leaders leading up to the matters such as the unresolved Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project and the forced tolling on our road users. By its virtue, nature transport requires heavily investment in infrastructure and proper planning of transport infrastructure, maintenance and upgrade could unlock opportunity for thousands of jobs. Mudzulachidulo dovha ra khou sedza zwa uri muvhuso khou ya phanḓa na u subsidize dzi vhuendi mabasi a khou subsidize 48%, zwidimela 29%, Gautrain yo ḓaho mulovha 15% na BRT 8%. Dzi thekhisi sa zwi vho dzi amba na vho minista uri dzi khou hwala vhathu vha 68% a dzi khou subsidiziwa ri khou humbetshela uri dzi thekhisi dzi sedziwa na dzone ngori dzi hwala vhathu vhanzhi hangei mahayani. We call on government to think clearly and seriously about the centrality of the transport to our economic development deals. As a result, we call on the department to do the following: invest heavily in connecting the country with a rail network that will be able to transport both people and goods time-savvy and affordable prices. This will take the pressure of our road network and minimize road traffic accident. The government must invest in making use of carbon-friendly means of public transport for traveling short distances. This will minimize traffic congestion in the city center and reduce our carbon footprint. Government must do away with the e-tolls, which does not benefit anyone involved. Government must also introduce the tax heavily the big logistic companies for the use of our roads to transport their goods. This must be done to encourage these big companies to use rail transport. Government must also introduce the accident tax to tax SAB and other alcohol-making companies, and that money must be used to strengthen road accident fund. Government must also resolve the PRASA board fiscal drama which is happening there in order to ensure that all the trains are being function in a maximum capacity. And the PRASA must stop its indefinite investigation through Werksman wasting state money by legal cost, which is not due for the people. The entity like SAMSA is also not doing well in terms of there's no transformation in the ship registry in 23 years. And also the state-owned ships were stolen in 1994 period democracy. And also again, the SAMSA has violated section 26(1)(b) of SAMSA Act 1998 because the acting CEO is supposed not to exceed 12 months in terms of this act. In terms of RAF, road accident is intentionally put insolvent because the board is involved on violating section 24(6) of the Road Accident Fund Act. By exceeding not to follow the law of trying to settle their matters within 120 days or 4 months to settle, they settle after 120 days in order to maneuver RAPs, which is in conflict with section 80 of the Constitution, which need the input from the Constitution itself. We need more money in the RTMC to cap the accident because more than 30 billion is being wasted on our road by accident. But RTMC is given little money to cap that accident, which is unfair. Also, the use of consultants is too high. The EFF proudly and loudly so reject this budget.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Ilunga elihloniphekile ucebe khulu.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I must first point out I'm not a member of the Portfolio Committee, but I'm standing in the place of my colleague, Mr. Sitole. This department chairperson is failing in its objective to provide a safe, secure, and efficient medium for the movement of people, goods, and services from one location to another. PRASA has derailed itself through its continued maladministration, mismanagement, and incompetence, and corruption. Just recently, we've seen a probe by one of the biggest commercial law firm into irregular contracts at the entity that could almost amount to 24 billion rand. Commuter safety and on trains, ongoing vandalism, as well as trains that do not run on schedule remain issue of major concern. Metro Rail is a comedy of error with almost continuous train delays. Another issue is that the fact that Transnet and PRASA seem to be at odds with each other most of the time, and this is definitely hindering rather than helping rail transport in this country, which is in dire need of upgrade, repair, and maintenance. Transnet not to be outdone by PRASA's 2015 embarrassment when they purchased trains that did not fit on our tracks, entered into an 8 billion rand contract with a Chinese state-owned CRRC corporation for locomotives, the first of which are total debts and have been inoperable since arriving in South Africa. Surprisingly enough, Transnet had not learned from our neighbor Namibia's problem in 2004 with similar locomotive, but then it had Mr. Brian Mlefe at the helm when these contracts were signed. Need I say more? Honorable Chairperson, in such challenges, economic times, government should be doing everything within its power to ease the financial burden on our consumers. Why is it that the commuter subsidies are not given to commuter using taxis as means of transport to and from their place of employment. Why is it that when 75% of our labor force make use of such transport government does not assist through subsidies? Why does the diesel fuel tax refund system not apply to passenger transport in the form of private buses and taxis? Government has alive safety campaign, which is an important part of the Department of Transport's road safety projects and awareness efforts, is not effective as it could be. More visible policing, random roadblocks, which check drivers' licenses and roadworthiness of vehicles, as well as zero-tolerance approach towards driving under the influence of alcohol must be more prevalent. In some parts of our country, we hear that drivers' licenses are still for sale by corrupt officials. What is being done to crack down on this crime? In closing, we wish to congratulate the new minister on his appointment. We hope that with him at the helm, it will usher in a new era of departmental competency and achievement of objectives. The new minister is well versed in the departmental challenges as he served previously in the portfolio committee. We wish him well.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Your time has expired.
The IFP supports the budget debate. Thank you.
No, thanks very much. The next speaker is Honorable Shelembe.
Chairperson, the National Freedom Party notes the report of the Portfolio Committee on Transport on Budget Vote 35. The new Minister of Transport, Minister John Matsanga, has inherited a department that is ailing, a department that is failing dismally to deliver on its mandate. Moreover, Chairperson, this is a department that is neglecting to exercise effective oversight over its entities. Incidents such as the firing of the PRASA board fiasco and the subsequent court ruling has dented the image of the department, as did the lack of adequate security by Airports Company of South Africa at OR Tambo Airport, resulting in the recent haste. To make matters worse, the Road Accident Fund is in a perpetual cash flow crisis, leaving many victims of road accident in limbo as payments are delayed, and an increase is expected in accumulated deficit over the medium term from 183 billion in 2016-2017 to a staggering 328.8 billion in 2019 and 2020. Nowhere in the budget do we see anything that tells us that approving the budget is going to make any difference to these problems. Presiding over the transport needs of the country, the Department of Transport has been allocated a total budget of 59.8 billion in the current financial year. This allocation represents a 6.2% increase on the 56 billion of the previous financial year, with the bulk of the budget allocated to the programs for rail, road, and public transport spending areas. The NFP notes the concern raised by the Portfolio Committee on the skewed allocation of subsidies between the various modes of public transport and adds its voice to this concern. In particular, we believe that the taxi industry should long ago have been into consideration for proactive intervention and subsidies, not only because of the huge number of passengers conveyed in this sector, but also to alleviate the often deadly competition for access to routes, which often flares up as so-called taxi wars. The budget table here today does not tell us how many people more have to die in horrific taxi-related violence and accident before the department gets its act together and intervene in this volatile public transport sector. Generally, the NFP believes that the department is failing its mandate. We just need to look at the sorry state of our roads and the road that rate to see that the department is not effective. We just need to look at the scandalous financial mismanagement and the rampant corruption spreading through its entities to see that the department has lost its moral authority to exercise oversight. Nothing in this budget tells us how these problems are going to be addressed. To conclude with, In view of our lack of trust in the ability of the department to execute its mandate, the NFP cannot support the report on budget vote 35. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is the Deputy Minister of Transport.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister of Transport, Mr. Joe Maswanganyi, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and members of the Portfolio Committee on Transport, Honorable Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, fellow South Africans. As Team Transport, we unapologetically remain the conduit of trade, the heartbeat of an effective radical economic transformation, the very core of our country, the region and the continent's prosperity. Transport is the locus, the very nerve center, and the heartbeat of South Africa's socio-economic development. We are a global player, fully immersed in our position in the family of nations. In policy, we are comprehensive. In legislation, we are sound. In implementation, we are robust. In challenges, we are durable, hands-on and tough. In achievements, we excel like no other, driven by one conviction: to give our people a better life and cement a South Africa that is democratic, prosperous, non-racial, non-sexist, and united as envisioned by President O.R. Tambo. Fellow South Africans, the Department of Transport is an infrastructure department. Our infrastructure program is multi-pronged and all-encompassing of the different transport modes. We have airspace infrastructure, we have oceans infrastructure, we have land infrastructure that includes rail and roads. Chairperson, for the very first time in South Africa, we now have an approved comprehensive maritime transport policy which seeks to unleash and catalyze the various interventions under the Operation Pakisa Oceans Economy Program. For the 2017-18, we have allocated 13 million rand to assist SAMSA in its operation and implementation of maritime transport and manufacturing initiatives. We are making headways to ensure that we have a solid oceans infrastructure. In Port Elizabeth, we boast of a fully effective offshore bunkering station infrastructure which started its economic activities in April 2016 with only 2 vessels that purchased bunker oil. Today, it has seen more than 1,100 vessels needing bunkering services that would normally bypass South Africa. The bunkering can be compared to an ultra city on land, but located in our very own ocean. To promote safety in inland waterways, we have submitted before Cabinet the Inland Waterway Strategy. By this, we will control and regulate all the boat activities in approximately 60,000 dams and 23 large rivers to curb the recurring accidents and incidents. This will also ensure that inland waterways becomes a safe and accountable marine tourism and leisure sector. In support of the maritime growth and competitiveness, the ports regulator completed major studies on port tariff benchmarking, South African ports benchmarking, and analysis of terminal operator standards. The ports regulator was also awarded a clean audit certificate in 2015-16 by the Auditor General, second time running since its establishment. Honorable members, in South Africa, we have a rail safety regulator established in terms of the Act. There is no train that can operate in South Africa railways without due safety compliance approval from the rail safety regulator, Honorable De Vreitas. According to the safety report of the 2nd December 2015, all new trains that have come to the country have all received a stamp of railway safety approval, and this includes all technological advanced system, Honorable De Vreitas. So the tales being told about the new trains on the railway revitalization program not meeting safety compliance standard is indeed a figment of imagination of some among us, Honorable F. De Vreitas. Chairperson, to the extent that this is the case, what are you saying? To the extent that this is the case, the RSR has established a radically advanced trained drivers accreditation program, which today has licensed 130 trained drivers. This program serves the accreditation and certificate of safety critical localized products and programs. Regional rail safety integration as an enabler for effective regional trade is amongst the apex agenda matters of the government of the African National Congress. And it is one of the issues to be discussed further at the Southern African Railway Association conference hosted by the Rail Safety Regulator from tomorrow, that is the 24th to the 25th of May 2017 in Johannesburg. Well done, RSR. Honorable members, in all our efforts, what drives us is to better the lives of our people by taking services to delivery right at the doorsteps of South African citizens. To this end, the Road Traffic Infringement Agency has spent 11 million rands to establish mobile ARTO offices for education and awareness on both ARTO and road safety related activities, and these offices will be accessible to both urban and rural areas. The results from pilot studies conducted show that ARTO and the implementation of the demerit system are effective in curbing carnage on our roads. The time is now to roll out ARTO and the demerit system nationwide in order to fight road carnage. For the rollout of ARTO and transfer of approximately 18 million rand has been made for this financial year. Integration of education, enforcement, and engineering, if it is done in a sustainable manner, do reduce road fatalities. The study conducted here in the Western Cape confirmed these, honorable defrators. Artia also has embarked on a youth enterprise development program which seeks to create 1,920 enterprises on a distribution of 10 enterprises in each of the 192 municipalities. Honorable members, as part of many women empowerment programs, in 2017-18 financial year, the South African Network of Women in Transport, SANWIT, under the Department of Transport, will host a national elective conference. We will continue to intensify our efforts to ensure access to business opportunities for SMMEs. Chairperson, it is worth noting that the Department of Transport Wellness Unit has produced a comprehensive HIV/AIDS strategy which encompasses all modes of transport. This strategy is critical in ensuring that we have a healthy and supported transport workforce. We congratulate the DOT employee wellness team for this excellent work. Taking to the skies, South Africa, through the air traffic navigation services, has and controls 10% of the world's airspace. This 10% South Africa's airspace is equivalent to 22 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest airspaces in the world controlled by one country, and that is South Africa. On airspace infrastructure for 2017-18, to mention just two projects, ATNS has budgeted 132 million rands to introduce the next generation of the medium Earth orbit search and rescue satellite system into the COSPAS-SASAT system, as well as the space-based ADS-B technology, which will enhance our traffic and navigation service provisions at ATNS. The approval of AXA Business Development Strategy enables the organization to proactively grow its international footprints. AXA has been appointed to provide project management advisory services for ground lighting and the new terminal projects for Kotaka International Airport in Ghana. We are indeed pleased that AXA continues to make South Africa plan, which is envisaged to yield 40 to 45% reduction in number of accidents. We have seen a steady decrease in general aviation incidents from 29 in 2014 to 20 in 2016. Again, honorable members, the Auditor General has, for the 4th year running, conferred a Clean Audit Award to SACA. This achievement attests to the effective controls and good of the entity. Honorable members, as the Honorable Minister stated, the overall 86.71% achieved on the ICAO audit, which is an A+ achievement, does not surprise us. As I said before, we are a global player, fully immersed in our position in the family of nations. After the last week's ICAO audit, the leader of the ICAO audit, Mr. Harry Goji, said, and I quote, In my 18 years of auditing the aviation sector, I've not seen so much of accuracy in the portfolio of evidence responding to all matters of legislation, organization, accident and incidents investigation. I've been auditing this sector globally. South Africa has far surpassed our expectations as this audit team, close quote. No wonder Mr. Goji said this, out of the 8 audited areas, we received 100% in both civil aviation organizational structure and primary aviation legislation and specific operating regulations, as well as on the aviation medicine subsector, we received 100%. He further indicated that some of South Africa's system and methods will be used as benchmark when auditing other countries. We immensely appreciate the sterling work performed by SACA board, management and staff, and other stakeholders, including the ATNS, Denel, Solenta Aviation, and the South African Airlink, for their contribution in making sure that we receive a first-class distinction ICAO audit outcome without any significant safety concern. We further applaud the firm and resolute committee on our 12 who are pilots and others studying aeronautical engineering. Can they also rise, please? And of course, there they are. And rail safety inspectors, can they also rise? And these, thank you very much, and these are selected from both rural and urban areas and who have also been given, they've also been given opportunities to study and change the face and the slowly transforming transport sector. Chairperson, as I conclude, allow me, as I conclude, to extend my appreciation to our former Minister, Medibo Peters, and our current Minister, Honorable Choma Swanganyi, for their patriotic, comradely, and revolutionary leadership. We further appreciate the support and guidance of the provincial MECs, chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Transport, the Ministry, the Acting DG Matabata, and the entire Department of Transport, as well as our boards and state-owned entities. Let's never forget our mandate. We are global players, an influential member in the family of nations. Neither the skies nor the seas, not even the vastness of our land, can limit our strides as we face challenges head-on to move South Africa to a radical economic transformed nation. We are and will always be the A+ sector. Together, we move South Africa forward. Siyaqhuba. Ngiyabonga.
Order. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The next speaker is Honorable Filtane.
In the hope that not a cent of this budget will be used to enrich a few within PRASA or any other entity through corruption, support it. We are still experiencing the legacy of a well-designed and executed political, social, and economic exclusion. Transport planning and development was such that ours will be a highly distorted separation of people from both their places of work and the majority of social services required to live a productive life. In this regard, the provision of safe, accessible, and affordable public transport infrastructure is a fundamental requisite for the socio-economic advancement of the people of South Africa. In order to effectively address the direct effects of socio-economic exclusion from the past, and in the context of the mandate of this department, we need to ensure that the costs of traveling are reduced or subsidized. Our public transport must be improved with an operations and fare structure that is regulated. Poor communities spend 40% of their meager income on transport, Honorable Minister. Slow spending on the taxi recapitalization program is a serious drawback for these private practitioners and can only damper your efforts to accelerate the economic impact that is desired. The National Transport Policy Forum of the early 90s created space for the participation of a broad spectrum of stakeholders in the planning of an integrated transport system. It is our view as the UDM that there is an urgent need to ensure that at the local level, transport forums that are created are created to give space for the broader and more meaningful participation of all people from all sectors of our economy. This approach would ensure that gender is involved in the analysis of the transport need. We're thinking particularly here about our women. There is a need for a gender-sensitive transportation infrastructure, both in the urban and rural context. Chairperson, the constraint with developing and maintaining rural roads is the fact that they are unfortunately rural, yet the rural environment is the growth engine of our economy. It is difficult to access and network rural areas. This makes logistics become complicated. Local contracting capabilities limited. Engineers are few and far in between. Younger engineers in particular are hard to come by. They are not keen to leave the urban environment. We need to do something to confront this challenge. Gravel roads are reconstructed and rehabilitated at non-frequent intervals, often with little in the way of lasting improvements. Maybe we need to ask the question whether there is a government policy that dictates that rural roads must be only gravel, whilst we need a regular supply of food and other basic necessities of life. The cost of maintaining a gravel road-driven vehicle is about 40% higher than that of a surface road transporter. This impacts negatively on the pockets of those who use these roads. Internal municipal road infrastructure is in crisis and in almost all municipalities. It is highly regretted that South African Airlink is being allowed to monopolize the Joburg-Mthatha route. This negates economic transportation in that part of the world. We implore the department to engage with the competition and find a lasting solution. Whilst it may not be the primary mandate of the Department of Transport, we invite the Minister to assist in the transport problem of kids in the Eastern Cape. On Monday, they didn't move the kids exactly because of no payments. Some people are being owed as much as R500,000. The boardroom battles at PRASA need to be addressed with speed, given the need for the service that is so sorely needed by the less privileged people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Filtana. The next speaker is Honorable Alberts.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, you are new, and we will see to it that we have a duty to bring you up to speed about all the issues that you will have to deal with going forward. The ANC calls these things challenges. We call them self-inflicted wounds and slow suicide, also known as disrespecting the people of South Africa. Despite this, we will try to be constructive and provide some advice. Firstly, the much-beloved Gauteng e-toll system. It is now abundantly clear that this wretched system has failed. With a very low compliance rate, the tribe has spoken and voted Sunroll out. Nothing that Sunroll does will ever legitimize the system or force road users to pay. You can sue them, you can try to arrest them. The cards remain stacked against the ANC government, for there are plenty of resistance from within Parliament and outside in the form of the brave organization called OUTA. Our advice is to scrap the system and use the toll technology for speed and road traffic management. At the very least, you will serve the public by making the roads safer. As for the e-tolls, accept that it's dead. The damage inflicted upon yourself in this respect and the country at large is considerable, as government has inadvertently taught the public how to revolt against taxes and the ANC. Expect more of this in the future. Nog 'n stelsel wat nie werk nie is R2. Die stelsel maak nie paai veiliger nie, al is dit die hoofdoelwit van die wet. Die stelsel is so gebrekkig dat Fines for You onlangs 'n hofbevel teen die Padverkeersoortredingsagentskap RTI gekry het. Gaan lees gerus daardie uitspraak, minister. Dit verduidelik in besonderhede hoe deurspek van foute die hele stelsel is en waarom jy nooit enige iemand aanspreeklik sal kan hou in terme van R2 nie. Trouwens, die onwettige optrede is van so 'n aard dat bykans elke R2-kennisgewing uitgereik van dag 1 af waarskynlik onwettig en oninvorderbaar is. Die effek daarvan is dat al daardie miljarde rande teruggeëis kan word van die staat. Die verdere effek is dat roekelose motoriste nou straffeloos gelaat word en dat ons paaie in Gauteng onveiliger word. R2 is 'n klaaglike mislukking. Then we need to discuss the Road Accident Fund. We have proof that there is huge mismanagement taking place in the fund in order to steer it into a weakened state that will allow the proposed Road Accident Benefit Scheme, RABS, to be implemented in its place. The current system is not failing because it is inherently weak, but because it is supposed to fail to fit the agenda of certain persons in the fund itself. RABS might save the fund money, but it will happen at the expense of the claimants. The main problems identified are the following. It will limit the funds made available to a person who will need lifetime care. The public health system will not be able to handle patients with care and rehabilitate them due to poor service levels of the public health care system. People go to public hospitals to die, not to get healed. It deprives claimants of independent legal advice and turns the RAF into lawyer and judge as it decides on behalf of the claimant what is the best way to deal with his or her compensation and rehabilitation. This will surely fail the test of independence in the Constitutional Court. It represents a serious conflict of interest as the RAF will want to give the claimant as little as possible. Lastly, the Minister must appraise himself of how many claims prescribe in the hands of the RAF. The RAF is so dysfunctional that many claims prescribe, thus opening the RAF up to legal attack and failing claimants. This presents a serious infraction on the human rights of all claimants. Minister, leave the RAF as is. Root out the inefficiencies and corruption, and you will have a just system that works for claimants. Minister, u kan ons advies ignoreer, soos ons gewoond is, maar uiteindelik gaan julle die prys betaal, die ANC, soos die mense opstaan. Want die mense op die grond is nie dom nie, en belangriker nog, hulle is nou meer ingelig as ooit tevore. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Khatib.
Honourable Chairperson,
What is the issue?
Honourable Chair, I just want to hear if Honourable Khadebe is prepared to take a question. He told me it's payback time today.
Honorable Khatib,
No,
before
Chair.
you start your debate,
No.
are you prepared to take a question?
Oh, no, I don't have, I can't.
Over to you, Honorable Khatib.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Ministers, welcome, Honorable Minister, on the new deployment, and Honorable Deputy Minister, members, distinguished guests, and all protocol observed. I greet you all. Let me start by passing our condolences to all those who passed away and those who got injured in the train accidents. We say condolences to you. And a special condolences to all the victims of abuse and killings and the witness of gruesome killings of the women and by these coward men in our country. We call all communities and police service to work together tirelessly in bringing all those involved into justice. It is a shame that we don't see Save South Africa and DA and its alliance marching against these gruesome killings, but they can be able to waste their resources and money in marching against President Zuma. I wonder what's the priority here. In support of the OR Tambo Centenary, SAMSA has developed a detailed maritime program. Once again, want to congratulate our female ship captains. And SAMSA identified our community of Eguvugeni in KwaZulu-Natal in its corporate social investment program and line up with the land waterways strategy. This particular program has also had partnership with all the partnership with the Department of Transport and the National Shark Board. And this has also been able to contribute about 4 boats and also train 3 skippers that will be able to operate these boats. More than 200 youth of OR Tambo District and Buffalo City currently undergoing training, with 50 to be placed in 2017 and the rest in 2018. 2 additional vessels were registered on the SA Ship Register during the current financial year, bringing a total vessels of the 4 of the vessels. I wonder, was Honorable Lauds taking this thing that we don't have any ships that are registered? Maybe he was dreaming. We request Honorable Minister to give an attention to the National Port Regulator Act and the development of the Port Economic Participation Framework, as this is one of the other legislation that need a very serious attention, and also on other bills that are sitting at the department's desk, as they need a very much serious attention. RSR has rolled out a license safety critical grade and signed a memorandum of agreement with PRASA. The project was promised on the Human Factor Management Standards SANS 3000/4. And these trained drivers will have a position in their valid license of competency and qualification where relevant, and valid license where relevant. Indeed, let us congratulate also the CEO of RSR in its hosting the rail safety railway in Durban, where it brought all the railway industries together in discussing the importance of the rail. And also wish them good luck on the conference that is coming, that will be held in Sandton for the Southern African Railways Association. And congratulate also the CEO for being the PRASA, for being the SARA president. Keep up the good work and make sure that you also don't forget to make sure that your education program and awareness program continue to run as effectively. Let's congratulate also PRASA on its new 18 trains that is delivered over the weekend by the President Jacob Zuma. And the revitalization of the rail industry in Donata. Indeed, this is a very big progress, and we say thank you for President Zuma for bringing new trains after a long 50 years. And we take note, Honourable Minister, the Gau train that is very much expensive than the metro rail. We must be able to take note and do something about this one. Today, we are also celebrating that at least the hope of the people of Moloto, they've got confidence that at least the Moloto rail is going to be delivered. Congratulations to the department. Indeed, at the Donata, we know very well that an amount of about 9.2 million is allocated for skills development for triple PEE, and 54 billion is allocated for the SMME, and 1.6 billion is for enterprise owned by Black women, and 2.3 million will be allocated for social economic development. We want to raise our disappointment on the trains, on the coaches and trains that were set by fire, and the vandalism of the cable thefts as a big challenge that has destroyed all our infrastructure. We want to request Honourable Minister that as a portfolio committee, we want you to go and engage with your counterpart in the security cluster to ensure that this infrastructure is highly protected and a particular legislation is brought forward in ensuring that this infrastructure doesn't get destroyed. Because if that is not done, our new trains are going to be set alight again, and the progress within that is going to go back. The refurbishment of the signaling system will also help a great deal, as it's one of the causes of the accident of the trains. We request Minister to strengthen RSR in putting proper systems in monitoring this particular implementation. The Minister wants to also raise the irregular appointment of the Verksman that is exposed the hypocrite of the PRASA board. This is one of the issues that has been preoccupied by the PRASA board. PRASA board has failed to deal with the issue that we're supposed to deal with. About all the 3 years that they've been appointed to, they didn't do anything. Instead, they went out and paid themselves lump sum of money, which we said to them they must be able to pay it back. We want to say congratulations and thank you to the former acting group CEO, Mr. Letsoalo, in helping us in exposing these board members in their dirty tricks in what they have done. We know very well that the court has cleared you, Mr. Letsoalo, that you didn't increase any money for yourself, but instead you were just being tainted. We want to ensure that, hope that all those board members, Honourable Minister, they're going to be banned and they won't be able to allow to serve to any board in South Africa because they are untrusted and dishonest. We want to ensure that the National Development Plan that also give us on 2030 that the investment transport sector will, among others, support economic development by allowing the transport of goods and the production where they're connected. This will facilitate the regional and international trade. PRASA should also provide suitable means for the safe and effective and cost-effective public transport. In that note, Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. The Department of Transport, we support the budget of Vote 35. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, if transport is responsible for the infrastructure network and operations that serve as a catalyst, that's the wheels, for social and economic development, then it's no wonder that we face socio-economic crisis that threatens our very stability as a nation. And if one looks at the State of Capture report and the SAC's unburdening report, then it's a wonder that the wheels have not yet been stolen. Well, we know that PRASA locomotives can't leave a station because it's too tall. Besides, we only have a temporary chief driver following the eventual demise of Montana, whose luck ran out, and the removal of Collins 350% Letswala. Well, one thing's for sure, you can't get bored because one moment it's there and the next minute it's not. It's also clear that the Speaker is not the only one to have swindled her driver's license because corruption is rampant at our driver's licensing and motor vehicle testing centres. Chair, it honestly sounds Monty Python-esque, but it's not. We have a looted PRASA worse than a runaway train, a tussle over e-nators with no end in sight, and charges relating to 10 million rand bribes involving the former minister Ndebele and a former DG. Rampant corruption at licensing and vehicle testing centres that threatens road safety. A seemingly inoperable R2 system. The R2 Act is almost 20 years old and is still not fully functional. A road accident fund under Public Protector's investigation for maladministration and its solvency questioned. Rampant irregular expenditure in the billions at Sunroll, let alone the unresolved e-toll saga. Honourable Minister, you will be aware of all of this as a former member of a Transport Portfolio Committee. You have an onerous task ahead of you. Now, we know that the Public Protector made damning findings of corruption and maladministration in respect of PRASA. We know that as a consequence, Lucky Montana eventually resigned in disgrace. We know that former ministers strong-armed the deployment of 350% Letswala in as acting CEO. We know that when the board fought back, former Minister Peters summarily dismissed the board, only for the courts to reinstate the board.
May you take your seat, please? What is the point of
Chair,
order?
the point of order is the point of information. Mr. Lucky Montana was not fired.
What is the point of order, Honourable?
Didn't resign, was fired.
Honourable, what is the point of order? Proceed. That was not a point of order.
Only for the courts to reinstate the board, declaring her action as unlawful and irrational. Phrases now hear far too often in respect of the President and his executive. Sources reveal Molefe was beginning to uncover high-level detailed investigations into PRASA's irregular tender deals. Molefe's board has been getting close to some very sensitive information about monies flowing to politically connected people. Now it is reported that in the interim, you, Minister, are ignoring letters from Molefe requesting a meeting. That there is a connected effort to oust him, that you, Mr. Minister, are purposefully not filling board vacancies to render the board functions officio, and that members of the Black Business Council visited Molefe on your instruction, asking him to walk away from PRASA. Can you please answer that? One can only ask rhetorically for what end, For it can only be a desperate attempt to hide the ugly truth. Now, Honourable Minister, as a former colleague, I've got to know you as a humble, firm and uncaptured person. I really want to, and I miss the Comrade Carter in the passage. And Comrade Joe, I want to say that will you keep your moral high ground?
Thank you very much,
Remember
Honourable
that the
Kata.
truth
Your
will come
time
out
has
at some point.
expired.
The ugly boil of corruption and state capture will be launched.
Thank you
and
very
those
much.
complicit exposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honourable Ramatlakan.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister and other ministers present, Honourable members. Today we assemble here to consider a debate and the budget of Transport Department. We support this budget at the onset as the committee and as the ANC. I forgot that the Honourable Carter no longer participates in the portfolio committee. So the level of information that he has in the committee in terms of the PRASA, including the locomotive, will be limited. It's limited, and what limitation of it is that she speaks about the trains that cannot go through, that cannot leave the station because they are tall. That's completely incorrect. That's in fact being economical with the truth. The issue is that those locomotives they have been commissioned. The RLC has dealt with the matter. They only could not issue the license because the contract for maintenance was not necessarily signed because of the court case. So there is no such thing that the trains is, so I will forgive her because of that limited information. Let's start from the beginning. South African transport policy provides that the state, the allocation of public transport subsidy and socially necessity, services in a manner that is transparent. However, the long-term aim, as stated in 1996 white paper of the National Transport Policy, is to reduce the state subsidization cost dependence on more effective and efficient public transport system being developed. The policy also states that where public transport subsidy are granted based on a welfare consideration or to promote the public transport, they should be applied through the mechanism that provide incentive for increased efficiency. The majority of the working people are generally public that needs efficient transport, accessible, integrated, and safe public transport with a single integrated fare structure or a ticket system for rail and bus and taxi operators. The current mode of ticketing systems is fragmented, inconvenience community and public. In addition, they encourage destructive competition among various modes of transport. The further complicating of the fragmented subsidy framework is in addition to the public transport mode, is of course not integrated Gautrain and bus rapid transport BRT system, which require integration with rail and minibus operators. BRT is not about buses only. It is about integration and public transport, which is inclusive. In 2015, the State of the Nation address, the President asserted that 6 billion will be spent on 13 cities on planning, building, and operating BRT. Notwithstanding this pronouncement, we need to say that the process is moving very slow. Commuters are continuing to be inconvenienced as they cannot seamlessly switch between different modes of transport, such as buses and metro rail, trams and taxis. Integrated transport, public transport was never a priority during the 1980s, up until 1994. Spatial challenge of blacks, South Africans, and colored and Indian places themselves far away from the cities, approximately 80 kilometers from the township to cities. which are dependent only on the public transport. In this case, taxi was in fact the most suitable and accessible mode of transport, which has not received a subsidy. The democratic government has inherited 120 plus minus 120,000 taxi nationally, which of course that process of transforming has seen the NTT recommendation being adopted. Minibus taxis ferry thousands of learners to school every day. Taxi operators are also deeply woven with the cultural fabric of our society. More often than not, they are only means by which majority of South Africans gather to a vital social, cultural, and important events such as community meeting or going to church or weddings. In effect, taxi operators make South African democracy work by getting people around and getting people to voting stations. Introductions of the bus transport, which was mainly owned by whites in the past, South African, together with the rail, was of course, government paid the operation, you listen. Government operators money subsidies, pay cost. When the pain and the shoe fits the pain, you must feel that because you know about it. You have been there before and you know what you're talking about. That time, that what you were, we are correcting the problem of the past. Bus subsidies have been growing by an average of real growth of 4% since 1994 to 2009. In 2009, in subsidy administration system has altered the annual contract system, escalating the capping of the budget, of course, and handing the money to the provinces. Approximately 3.5 billion was paid in operational subsidy based on the public transport bus services in the past years. It is my considered view that the Department of Transport inability to integrate this complex process in almost 2 decades is of course not a positive matter. In the Department of Transport has a responsibility to drive the process and rope in the sister department like energy in terms of implementing the NTT recommendation. The realization of the radical economic transformation is instructive that all this industry, for all in sundry, including the minibus taxi, that it should be part and parcel of the integrated transport system. The recap review should provide a solution to these challenges of minibus taxi conundrum. Obviously, in terms of how we then begin to integrate and have seamless public transport. The Minister Maswangai knows and understands these concerns, having been part of the committee and the discussion, and we have a confidence that he will, of course, intervene in finding solutions in these challenges. We cannot expect the department to deliver on the KPIs without a proper staffing that drives the process. We're worried about the issue about staff. The management that has been lacking in the department is a source of concern. The matter of Shosholoza Mail as a public transport is, of course, another delay, another concern for us. We want to say from here that it is critical that Shosholoza Mail is aligned to the NDP objective. Remember, the NDP recognized the importance of the mainline train or the long-distance travel as the one that has ability to connect rural communities with our cities. We are concerned about the funding mechanism of the Shosholoza Mail, and of course we have said as a committee, it's about time that we have a discussion, a joint committee have a discussion with the Transnet issues about the kind of what must be transferred from Transnet to public transport by way of rail. That's the issue that we're going to be able to deal with. We are concerned about the BRT and the issue about delivering of BRTs because of the budget is the 6.2 billion that is being put into it. We want as a community to begin to have a feel of the implementation and speedy implementation of the budget and integrated public transport system. We are concerned about the capacity of the local authorities and municipality ability to be able to implement it.
Thank you
We would
very
like-
much, Honorable Matlakan. Your time has expired.
Thank you, we support the budget.
The next speaker is Honorable Hyung Singa.
Not more money, but organizational dysfunction is the core problem with transport under this ruling government. The distresses of what millions of people are facing daily is echoed by a range of red signals. Chairperson, the review of the past 3 years in audit outcomes indicated that there has been a regression in reliable performance reporting. The level of accuracy and reliability of entities is deteriorating with no focus on consequence management. Sadly, transport is adding to the current negative fiscal and credibility image, mainly because the fundamentals are not in place. This being the main reason why former Minister Depew Peters could not be trusted behind the wheel any longer. During this budget review, each entity confessed loyalty to the NDP, medium-term strategic framework and SONA 2017. However, I fail to understand this lip service when, for instance, we have one rail network, yet between PRASA and Transnet, they cross-invoice each other annually way beyond 1 billion rand. This ridiculous dual ownership scheme on rail assets should be stopped immediately. And with more than 1 billion rand conveniently floating between the two entities, our commuters are battling to keep their jobs with near daily excuses of why they are late again, let alone the challenges around scholars and homes that are equally affected. Public transport in general is not on time, not safe, and not clean. In fact, train delays are detrimental to the whole economy. Every average train set delayed for 40 minutes attributes to a loss of 400 person-hours per event. This is not acceptable and not fair to South Africans. The 157 coaches lost due to vandalism between January and April in the Western Cape this year is one thing. Not having a single fence around it, definitely something else. And Minister, don't even dare to think about anything relating to budget constraints. If you could find 42 million rand for 70 toilet seats like PRASA did, you can find money for a fence and make it safer for our commuters. Will you, Minister, allow the Road Accident Fund to get away with tender requests before a bill has been approved? The Road Accident Fund called for several RABS-related service provisions, like medical treatment protocols and RABS corporate branding services. This, while the RABS bill has not been approved. Words like insolvent and financial constraints is used in relation to the terrible state of management of the Road Accident Fund. And when we disclose tenders of nearly 100 carports and for fancy offices in Cape Town and Johannesburg, Minister, I am sure you are not aware at most, if at all, of RAB claims that are actually processed by Metscheme on behalf of the Road Accident Fund. But the illusion specialist CEO mesmerizes everyone with fairy tale phrases like, the Road Accident Fund is doing well. A step in the right direction was the recent arrest of Traffic and Licensing Department officials in Johannesburg by the new DA administration. The loss of income due to this fraudulent activity has cost the city of Johannesburg an estimated 14.7 million rand in revenue. This result of corrupt actions is hardly the full picture of the rot. Vehicle roadworthy test stations have no standardized system to prove that a vehicle has been there. In many cases, only the paperwork and a wallet ever gets to the test station. Most importantly, Chair, whether it is road, rail, air or sea, we cannot afford the divided and duplicated safety regulation in its current form. The DA will immediately unite all current safety regulators and agencies and position them in the Department of Transport as a direct function of the department. Get rid of the senseless tariffs and valueless registrations and direct the enormous saving towards safety and reliability for our commuters and travelers. We simply cannot afford the current structure. In conclusion, Minister, our citizens require reliable information that not only describes how taxpayer contributions are spent, but explains how key policies and decisions are implemented to their benefit. Lastly, Speaker, I've got a question to the Deputy Minister. If the Afro 4000 train was fine, Minister, fine to use as you put it, why are you trying to send them back?
Thank you very much.
I know it's a
Time has
speaker, but we'll
expired.
show you all about that when we sit on this side.
Thank you very much. Time has expired. Order. The next speaker is Honorable Sibande.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members, 2017, the year of Oliver Reginald Tambo. It is a year of unity in action by all South Africans as we move South Africa forward. Oliver Tambo, at the South African Communist Party anniversary meeting in London, 1981, he said, I'll quote, "The objective of our struggle in South Africa, as set out in the Freedom Charter, encompass economic emancipation. It is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealthy of the country to the people as a whole. To allow the existence of economic forces to retain their interest intact is to feed the roots of radical supremacy and exploitation, and does not represent even a shadow of liberation. Our 1994 democratic breakthrough has done little to shake this reality. As such, what we have now is political power without economic power. It therefore means that our core business as African National Congress is presently at its peak. Economic transformation is critical. Our ideological strength and influence in the national discourse is unmatched. As such, thieves sometimes steal it in order to legitimize themselves to the society. Everyone, even bourgeoisie parties, are claiming to be representatives of the poor. Some populist demagogues go to an extent to even stealing our colors and our rhetorics. The ANC Bulletin of 2015 considers transport infrastructure within the broader infrastructure development program as a sector which requires appropriate and adequate funding. The ANC further argues government to consider various funding models and options available so we can develop and maintain our transport infrastructure. ANC further emphasizes that in supporting economic development, funding for secondary airport infrastructure and associated operations must be considered in the immediate term. The Road Traffic Management Corporation Act established the RTMC to pool powers and resources and to eliminate the fragmentation of responsibilities for road traffic management across all various spheres of government. The Act provides for cooperative and coordinated strategic planning, regulation, facilitation, and law enforcement in respect of road traffic matters by national, provincial, and local spheres of government. Chairperson, awuthi-ke ngize kancane la. Bengilalele izikhulumi ezikhulumile, angidlulisi lokhu masinyane. Some people are suffering from verbal diarrhea and malnutrition in knowledge multiplied by schizophrenia. Chairperson, to the DA members, Mr. Honorable De Freitas and Honorable Husinga, I think this is not fair that during our committee meeting, when we're discussing the issue of PRASA, that you propose that we must have a task team to investigate. Investigate what? Because the previous minister disbanded the board. So what must we go and disband it? Also, the recent, your party during the local government election where they won seats, they won with arrangement with other opposition parties, also with the recent, the so-called regime change matches were achieved through the arrangement with the parties as well. Therefore, your achievements are like an anaconda that has swallowed up a porcupine. Mqinishlali, manje sengiyabona ukuthi kungani ngenkathi omunye wabaholi be-DA elobe emaphepheni ngohlevana lokucwasa kwabantu abampisholo. Ngizothanda ukucaphune kwesinye isihloko esabhalwa ngenye yezintatheli zolwimi lesintu lathi, close quote, usephinde washipha kudliwa unkosazana uZille, close quote. Nawe-ke, nani-ke malunga alenhlangano, senitholakala ngokugcwalisa leso statement. Mqinisihlali, engqondweni yamalunga we-DA abantu okufanele bahlomule kakhulu futhi kube nezichingi maphakathi nezwe. Izindawo okuhlala kuzo abamhlophe kakhulukazi, izindawo ezifana no-Constantia Park, Waterkloof, Montana, njalo njalo, eTshwane. Kuba bonke amasipala ezindaweni ezisingathwe yi-DA, zonke izindawo ezihlala abantu abampisholo kubo intuthuko iyiphupho. Ezinyangeni ezimbalwa ezedlule ikomiti lakwa-transport lavakashela eTshwane lathola kunamabhlorho aguguleka. Imiphakathi eyakhelene njengase eKlipgat nase-Winterveld ayisakwazi ukuwela ngaphesheya komfula. Imiphakathi ifinyelela kanzima ezindaweni zezinsiza zikahulumeni njengezingane zesikole nomama okufanele baye emakliniki nosizo lwamaphoyisa imbala kubo kushabalela. Umbuso we-DA uma uthatha izintambo kumasipala wamisa zonke izinhlelo zokuletha intuthuko ebantwini abamnyama okungangokuba khona futhi eTshwane ephase 1 Garankuwa View itshele ntaba libhuza yonke imigwaco ngokuba isiwa ayisebenzi kahle sukela kwaphatha i-DA. I appeal to Minister to look carefully at the implementation of my city in Cape Town. Instead of beginning with the Klipfontein corridor, which would have linked communities from Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Hedefeld, Athlone, and Mowbray, the DA city of Cape Town decided to first link Blowback, Milnerton to the city and focus on the CBD. We now have the situation where the D8 is determined route to the next phase from Khayelitsha to Wynberg through South Road, which will destroy the homes of families who have been living there for decades. There are two other alternative routes. The city has refused to provide the costing for both alternative routes and South Road itself. It is clear that the cost, both financial and human, to build the entirely new road through the South Road will be massive. The DAs claim they have consulted, but the DA ward councillor in that area declared before any process of consultation had started that South Road was done a deal. Secondly, we believe that it is necessary to examine the procurement pattern of my city in Cape Town to see whether the city has done enough to advance preferentially procurement for black contracts. Lastly, we request the minister to visit George and investigate the allegation about the double payments to municipal officials by the local operating company, George Link, and also to hear the views of both commuters and the taxi industry. These are nationally resources from the Department of Transport which are being transferred to the local government in Cape Town and George. We must ensure that advance our national transformation objective. Inhlangano ka-African National Congress iyayisekela le budget. Kuwe mnumzane we-EFF la kupodium akusike stage la omunye wabaholi wenu wayezolingisa awulingisela i-hip hop. Asikhulumi nge-hip hop, sikhuluma ngokuthi abantu kumele bathuthukise ngezokuthutha. Ngiyabonga.
Now, thanks very much, Honorable Member. Thank you very much. The Minister will close the debate. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Program Director. What we should know is that this department was designed for whites, to serve the white interests through the National Party. It was only servicing the farming communities on the expense of villages and the townships. It is no surprise that Helen Zille and Cola Barnard are yearning for the colonialism and apartheid times. We want to indicate, Honorable Magazi.
Honorable Minister, there is a point of order. May you take your seat? May you take your seat, Honorable Minister?
My minutes should stop.
No, they will stop your minutes. They are stopping, as you can see. What is the point of order?
Thank you, House Chairperson. I realize the minister is a new minister, but I presume as a member of this House.
Order, honorable members. What is the point of order?
I presume as a member of this House, the minister knows how to address other members of this House, either by their type, but certainly not as Cola Barnard. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, you know very well that all members here are addressed as honorable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The bills, Honorable Chairperson, Comrade Magazi, and policies are coming to Parliament. Cabinet is processing most of them. Honorable defrators, indeed, South Africa is not a police state. We are not going to have traffic officers in every corner and SAPS in every corner of South Africa. The priorities of this government is on education and health, not on police. We are not a colonial or an apartheid state where you emphasize police in every aspect. Yes, Collins Litswalo was cleared by the court. It was the board that paid the Litswalo through the letter that was signed by the chairperson of the board. Litswalo did not pay himself money. We are reviewing the tolling policy, which will go to Parliament, and this Parliament will benefit from discussing that new toll policy. We are not going to interfere with any court processes. It's not true. No minister, whether Minister Dipuo Peters or myself, has intervened with the court processes, SIU or Hawks processes. So it's just a hot air that people come and masquerade themselves here as if they are corruption busters. If ever there are corrupt traffic officers, they are arrested. You should not that every time you walk into a traffic station, you see black officials, it means they are corrupt. It's not correct. Honorable Mrauzi, how do you reject a budget that serves the interests of people of Shayandima, where you come from? We understand that since as the EFF, when you took Rupert's money, you served the interests of the master.
Point of order.
Can you take a seat, Honorable Minister? What is the point of order?
Chairperson, is it parliamentary for the minister to cast suspicion that we took Rupert money without a substantive motion?
No, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, proceed. That's not we have not put any suspicion to any member of this House.
Yes, Rupert said it when he was getting an award at the best 100 companies in South Africa, that he gave EFF money. You took his money. You are captured by Rupert yourselves. Honorable Chairperson, the subsidy policy is going to be reviewed to cover the taxis, the rail, as well as the buses. Honorable Alberts, RAF was introduced in the 1940s to serve the interests of the whites, in particular rich whites, who could prove that after accident, they could not get an income. It is the reason why we are doing away with RAF and bring REPS, which is going to benefit all people, including the poor. Because under RAF, in the main, it is lawyers who are benefiting as middlemen. Yes, Honorable Sbu Khadebe, we condemn vandalism of trains. We call upon our people to make sure that they look after the trains. If ever there are problems, let's resolve them together. The filling of vacancies, Honorable Ramatlakan, is what we are going to prioritize, the top executive, and prioritize women as DDGs and chief directors. Honorable Onsinga, as I've said before, you have no interest of black people. You are not interested in the Department of Transport to serve the interest of our people. You were comfortable when all the budget under Ben Skuman was serving the interests of whites. Today, the Department of Transport is taking services to the people of Moloto Corridor. We will not also allow delinquent entities which always go to the media and cast aspersions. What I want to say in conclusion, Chairperson, we will use our entities, whether PRASA, Sanral, AXA, SEMSA, and all of them, to empower the previously disadvantaged people in implementing the radical economic transformation program. That's what we are going to do. Our people are going to benefit from tenders from Sanral. Why are you not blaming your companies when they collude in Sanral?
Thank you very
kept
much,
quiet.
Honorable Minister. Your time has expired. All the honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary. The mini plenaries will now arise. Thank you very much.